Hi, welcome to Nona's Here. I'm Nona. Why aren't you smiling? Come on, smile. We're going to have some fun. Today, we are doing 5 DIYs for $5 or less. And the theme is Christmas decor. Now, that's something to smile about. All right, let's get over to my craft table and I'll show you what I've been making. DIY number 1. Now, I have to be honest, I've been working on fall, Halloween, and Thanksgiving. But I guess it's time to start working on Christmas. So I told Grumpy Grandpa, hey, we got to get over to the off-site storage place and get my Christmas supplies. He said, Christmas? It's only the beginning of October. I said, I know, but it's time to start on Christmas decor. So off we went to the off-site storage to pick up my Christmas craft supplies. So all of this is things that I already had in my Christmas craft supply bins. First, this little glass bowl. Then of all these things I had gotten at Dollar Tree. Some alcohol that I'm going to clean off the glass bowl with. Some spray adhesive and some glitter, white glitter. So cleaned off the glass bowl, used the spray glue adhesive to put on the glitter, and now in hindsight I wish I had painted that little glass bowl with my chalk paint. I think maybe the glitter would have stuck on better. And my best advice if you're going to do this is do a coat, let it dry. Do another coat of glitter, let it dry. That's my best advice, because you have to just keep going back and filling in the little spots. It worked, but let it dry between coats. So I did that. Then I decided I was going to try and make this look like a little snowman. Well, just the bottom of a snowman. So I patted as much of that white glitter on that little glass bowl as I could using the spray adhesive. Then I took some white rocks that I had in my regular stash and put those in. And then I had a little tea light, and I was going to put that on the top. And then I had some leftover ribbon, and you can see I was down to the very last bit of that ribbon roll, and I had just barely enough to go around the top, and I had a little extra piece left over, so I glued that onto the top, and then using the extra little piece I had, I made like a little bow crossover at the top. Then I had some beads in my regular stash, and I took 3 small beads, and glued them on the front to kind of look like buttons. Then I needed more white rocks. Thank goodness I had more in my regular stash. Put those into the bowl so that you could see the tea light. Put the tea light in the bowl, and that was my little Santa Claus candle holder. See, those are the little beads I had. Fortunately, those are just in my regular stash. I did use that Gorilla Glue to glue on those beads, and that stuck pretty well. And there you go. All right. Got over to the off-site storage place, and Grumpy Grandpa pulled out the bin that said Christmas craft supplies, 3 of 3. He said, great, let's go. I said, wait a minute, this says 3 of 3. That means we have to find 2 of 3, and Christmas craft supplies bin 1 of 3. He turned around and looked at me and said, you mean to tell me you have 3 bins this size of Christmas craft supplies? I said, yep, sure do. On to DIY number 2. For this one, I had this frame in my fall supplies with this little Hello Pumpkin thing on the front. I had this Christmas tree and bell on the bottom, and I had these jingle bells in my Christmas craft supplies, so I decided I was going to use them. So fortunately, that little Hello Pumpkin thing popped off real easily, so I decided just to take this Christmas craft scrap paper, and I'm gonna just cover the backing of this frame. I didn't have to pop it out or anything. I'm just gonna cover it with the scrapbooking paper. So I'm kind of like putting it in there and trying to get the impression of how big it needs to be to just slip it in there and put it down to cover the backing, because when the pumpkin came out it hardly made any did any damage. So I did that. I cut it. I got the size of it. I used a straight edge and my cutting tool, and you're going to see me. I'm going to cut towards my hand, which you never should do, but I was doing it so I could show you cutting it. See, don't do that. Don't cut towards your hand. So I cut out the square to fit inside the back of that frame, like to make it a shadow box. Now you can see it's a little bit too big. It's not fitting in there perfectly, but I figured that square in the back of the frame was a perfect square, so I just folded it quarter to quarter, corner to corner, and trimmed it off that way, and sure enough it fit just perfectly into the back of that frame. I didn't glue it down, I just pushed it down and it fit in there real nicely. I just had to trim off tiny little bit on two sides, and it just laid in there just perfectly. No glue, just laid it in there. Okay, so then I took off those beads at the top. I didn't want those. And I glued that green Christmas tree with the star at the top and the red bell hanging down in the middle. Then I took those jingle bells I showed you. Well, that turned into a real disaster, because it turned out those bells were all on one string. And I just had a dickens of a time getting them apart, getting one gold and one silver long enough to hang down on either side of the green tree and the red bell, and I didn't tape it. And I was saying a lot of bad words, so it's all the better that I didn't tape it. But I got the green tree with the red bell in the middle, and then I got a gold jingle bell and a silver jingle bell at two different lengths on either side, after saying a lot of bad words because they were hard to get on there, because they were hard to take apart off of the long string. So you'll see there's that, and then in the end you'll see where the two little jingle bells are hanging on either side. Well, I want to introduce our host today. First of all, Missy from Crafty Cove DIY and Emily from Farm Charm Chic. And our guest host is Ellie from DIY from House to Home. Now, I'll be sure and link all of their channels down below in the description box, and you'll want to be sure and check out their channels, and they will have the main playlist link for all the crafters who are joining in today. You'll want to be sure and check out all the creators who are participating in today's Christmas decor and get lots of ideas. I want to thank Missy, Ellie, and Ellie for hosting today's open invite. All right, on to DIY number 3. Once again, everything came out of my Christmas craft supplies. White chalk paint I always have, that Christmas bulb, that Christmas ornament, Santa Claus hat, styrofoam I had, that white pail was in my stash, some little red bulbs, that ribbon I had in my Christmas stash, okay, Gorilla Glue I had in my regular stash, my glue gun, and I quickly showed you that white Christmas tree from Dollar Tree back there, and that was in my stash. So the first thing I did was I painted that Christmas bulb white, and then I did the old glitter routine with the spray adhesive, and just rolled it, and I learned, let it dry, put the second coat on, let it dry, put the next coat on. So I had put a long pick into the bulb and then stuck the long pick into a styrofoam cone to let it dry, and plus I needed it on a pick, as you'll see in just a minute. That long pick becomes part of the craft. Okay, so then I took the white Christmas tree out of the box, took all the bottom parts off, unfolded it, but pulled all the branches towards the front, I'm going to say the front. Okay, so then I took the Santa Claus ornament hat and glued it on top of the head. It's going to be a snowman. Now I know snowmen are supposed to wear top hats or some other kind of hat, but I didn't have another kind of hat, so I used the Santa Claus ornament hat for the hat on the snowman. And you can see I put 2 googly eyes on them, which were in my regular stash, and it took an orange piece of foam and made him a nose. That was from my regular stash. And then a red bead on top of the hat. Then I took cable ties and tied that long pick to the Christmas tree. And I needed like 2 extra set of hands. But I finally got it tied, the tree to the pick. And then I hot glued that long pick to the Christmas tree. Okay, and there again I needed another set of hands, but I just kept gluing it so the pick would stay adhered to the back of the Christmas tree, because remember, all the branches are pulled to the front. Then I had styrofoam, and I stuck the styrofoam down into the bowl, then stuck the tree down into the styrofoam, and then those little 3 red Christmas bulbs I showed you, I put those down the front as buttons, and that ribbon I showed you, I tied around the snowman's neck as like a scarf. Then, of course, I had more white rocks in my regular stash. I must have thought Dollar Tree was going to stop selling white rocks because I had bags of those. Then I took my red stick-on letters, which I used white glue to put on those so they wouldn't come off, and stuck on there, let it snow. DIY number 4. All right, I had these white rounds, ornament wooden rounds in my stash that I'd gotten at Hobby Lobby last year. And it says $9.99 on them, but I'm sure I got them on half price. There were 12 in a pack. So I'm going to paint each one with my crimson chalk paint. Don't pay attention to that ribbon. I ended up not using it. I'm going to paint each round on the front and the back with my red crimson chalk paint. And then I got pictures of our granddaughter and our great-grandson and my 2 brothers and I. And I Mod Podged them on the front and on the back. Of course, letting them dry and then Mod Podging them on the front again. And so you know how we all do that. So I'm just showing you here that I Mod Podged a picture of our granddaughter on the front and a picture of her on the back of that round, and then a picture of our great-grandson on the front and a picture of him on the back, and then a picture of my 2 brothers and I on the front of one. Well, on 2 because there's 2 brothers, and I'm going to give them each one for Christmas. Okay, then I took my acrylic clear spray, what's that called? Clear acrylic coating, and sprayed them so that they wouldn't yellow. And then I had some red and white baker's string, and I didn't use that ribbon, it was too thick. I thought it overwhelmed the pictures. And so I put some red and white baker's string through the little holes that were already there. That was very kind. I didn't have to make holes. And put string through them so that they can hang them up. And here we go. So there's the string. So there's our great-grandson this summer getting out of the baby pool. And there he is sitting on Grandpa's lap the first time they ever met. He was about 2 months old. And there's our granddaughter sitting on Grandpa's lap this summer. And there she is. She just eaten a popsicle. Her lips were all red. Now there's myself with my brothers. Can you guess who's the oldest and who's the youngest? I hope you guessed wrong. I'm the oldest. The brother that is there that I was just pointing at is the middle, and the brother with all the gray hair, he's the baby. And I'm the oldest. All right, DIY number 5. All right, this is the only thing I went to Dollar Tree and I bought out of this whole craft DIY 5. And I paid $3 for it, and this is my budget buster, but let's face it, I didn't spend a lot of money on the other things. That belief sign I already had in my stash. That I had in my stash. the Joy sign and the Noel sign I already had in my stash. So the only thing I bought was that $3 sign for this whole thing. So I painted the 3 board sign with my black chalk paint, and I painted the Believe sign with my red chalk paint. And then I took my wood glue and I glued the Joy and Noel signs on the board. There I am using the wood glue and the Believe sign onto the board. I left the hanger on just as it was. I only painted the very tops of the board and only the top of the Believe sign. And I didn't do anything to the Joy and the Noel signs except to glue them on the boards. This is not what you would call a real creative craft, but it's what I had in my stash except for the $3 sign. And I did measure, by the way, that I didn't just eyeball. I measured everything to make sure it was like straight up and down. And there you go. And we'll take a closer look at the final reveal. All right, so here's the final reveal. Tell me which one is your favorite in the comments down below. There's my Snowman candle holder. And there's my, see, there were 2 other jingle bells on my jingle bell shadow box. Those 2 little bells on was frustrating. And there is my Christmas tree Santa Claus with the Santa Claus hat. There are my 2 Christmas rounds with my beautiful granddaughter and beautiful great-grandson. And here is my budget buster with the Joy and the Believe and the Noel on it to hang. Hey, listen, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you again at Nona's here very soon. If you haven't subscribed, why don't you mash that subscribe button? Don't forget to hit the notification bell. And if you liked my video, how about giving me a like? And see, I told you there'd be something to smile about. Hope to see you again soon. Bye.